Welcome to another episode of the Minnesota Meatloaf Podcast. How's it going today, Matt?
Good. How are you, Aaron?
Good. It's just the two of us today.
Exactly.
Like the
What
shirt,
have you been up to?
I have been just playing a ton of Nobody Saves the World. I really
Oh,
like that game.
yeah. I've been playing it a little bit too. I've been getting more into it. I just finally got to the point where the tutorial showed me how to switch the characters using the wheel, and that makes it a lot more fun because you don't have to go into the menu and flip the
Yeah,
pages. Now I'm getting into it finally.
awesome. Yeah, we pretty much unlocked all the characters and got them S ranked. And yeah, it's fun. I really like it.
Cool.
And then you get to a point where it kind of seems overwhelming because there's the dungeons have so many creatures, but you pretty much have eventually you can make your character so you can like take tons of hits. And so
Nice.
yeah, so we're just kind of flying through dungeons right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
I always kind of like that point in the game where you start to get so overpowered you can just kind of like walk through everything.
Yep.
We have a tendency, we do all the side quests first and unlock a bunch of loot and experience and skills and abilities, and then do the actual story missions, and like it's just like Superman flying through like.
Yep. That's I think that's with every game we do that with. So. I don't know any other way, I guess. So
Yep. It's the way God intended video games
yep.
people.
Uh, so should we get to our top three or?
Sure. Today's top three, we're talking about our Mall of America memories, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's oh my gosh, there's just so many stories. It's just yeah, we could go on
We
for hours.
episodes on this topic alone.
What was that? You kind of cut out, sorry.
If I do like 5 episodes on this topic alone.
Oh, I know. We could just break it into categories and
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
we've been going to the Mall of America pretty much since it opened, and I don't even remember what year it opened. Do you?
it was, it must have been like early, either late 80s or early 90s, because I know it was like middle school age, like seventh grade, eighth grade.
Yeah,
Uh,
because I was still in high school when it opened,
yep.
and I absolutely hated it the first time I went
Oh, really?
because I had a very bad experience. I I liked it. It was awesome, but I went with my sister and she brought a friend
Mm.
and they went to every shoe and clothing store in that place.
Oh my God.
I'm not
Which is,
kidding. I am not exaggerating. And that whole place is shoes and clothing stores at the time.
yeah, exactly. Like a ton of them.
Yeah, so I remember Dad and I pretty much sat on the bench the whole time and just going, "Oh my God, are they going to be done?" And
Yeah.
but no, after
They
that,
had a
then
couple of really cool stores. Like they had like couple hologram stores where they had
oh
like
yeah,
holograms hanging on the wall you could buy. They're ridiculously expensive, but they were cool because they were like 3D and looked like they came out of the wall and stuff. And there was like magic shops with like tricks you could buy, and there's the Lego store.
yep,
So there's a lot of cool stuff, but those were like there was probably like 10 really cool stores, and then like 87 clothing and shoe stores.
exactly. Yeah, there was only a handful of stores that you could actually enjoy going in. I remember the body parts store, or what was it called? Bodies? Or
It was
no, it was
called Bare Bones, I think.
Air Bones. That's what it was. Yes, I was trying to
Yeah,
think of the name of that. That was cool because it had all
and
kinds of skeletons and
it was like a science themed anatomy store. So they sold like you could get like your skeleton hand keychain and like
yep.
your skull for your room, and it was all like the skeleton and body parts, but then it wasn't presented like spooky like horror movie. It was like educational, like
Yeah, yeah. I had an eyeball keychain.
yeah. I had a skeleton like a forearm and a hand keychain.
I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it called again? Tell me, what was it?
Bare bones.
Bare Bones. Yes, yes.
Yep.
Wow. So, do you want to start with your top three?
Sure, I can start. My number three memory, I guess, is just, and it works, it fits well. So, is just the store. It's called Techno Comics, and just
Yep.
kind of Nothing specifically, but just memory in general. So like after the mall was open for a year or two, these other places started open. There was a store called Starlog, like based on the Sci-Fi magazine. There was like Starlog and Fangoria and
Yeah.
that were put out by the same company, and they had a ton of cool stuff. And then there was Techno Comics, which had this enormous like UFO built into the top of it that would be sticking partway out, and then like every so often it would like come out further and then like rotate. And did it make noise too? Was it like brr,
Yeah.
brr, brr,
Yep.
brr, brr? And it was like the craziest effing thing. And then the actual store wasn't that great. It was like a tiny little, like almost like a kiosk that was underneath the big UFO. And I know at the time, because I was a huge big comic fan, that this was right around the time that Image Comics started. All the artists left Marvel and started Image Comics, and so then there was all these little like shot in the dark comic companies that were
Mhm.
starting up. One of them was Techno Comics, and they had some comic. It was like Mr. Fantastic or something. It was like a steam powered robot man, but that was
Okay.
made by comics, and so that whole store was there to promote. I think that one comic book that I don't think made it longer than a year. So
Oh,
what an interesting thing that is and was.
yeah, I remember. Yeah, that was cool. We'd always go there. It was always so neat.
Yep. They had like a few t-shirts, and I was always mad that they didn't have a Venom t-shirt. And then they had a
Hmm.
few comics, and I think they had a few toys.
Yep.
And that
Yeah,
was
I
pretty
remember
much,
they had the toys, and it was cool because back then you really didn't see toys like that.
yeah.
Because it was more what anime toys, if I remember right, or
Yep. I think anime, and then like Star Trek, like
yeah,
old like Star Trek collectibles.
yep,
Yeah. And then the worker was standing in the middle like a weirdo. And he'd
yeah,
walk
yeah.
and he'd like rotate to watch you.
Yup. It was always busy. People liked
Yep.
it.
Yep. So that's my number 3 memory is Techno Comics.
Okay. My number three is the cheese curds play. Oh, it's kind of two. It's kind of a half and half because it's so short. But my number three is the first part is the cheese curd stand in the
Mm-hmm.
on the third floor. Because whenever we'd go, and most of the time you were with me, Matt, we'd usually a
Yep.
lot of the times we'd be together and
Mm-hmm.
we'd be with my parents, and my parents always like to go to Panda Express on the third floor. So
Oh,
we'd
yep.
always go there, and I didn't really care for it that much. So I'd always get A&W, and then right when you first walked in was the cheese curds place, and they had gyros and cheese curds,
I think
and
the name of it was Minnesota Picnic.
it was yep Minnesota Picnic, and
Yeah.
I remember the all you heard was the guy screaming regular curd, large curd. Because I
Yeah.
think that's what everybody went there for was the cheese curds. Because back then the only time you could get cheese curds was at a fair, you
Yeah.
know?
The guy at the cash register had a microphone, and he would call out the order to the workers in the back,
Yep.
but after order was just cheese curds. And so all you'd hear would be regular curd,
Yep.
large curd,
Yep.
regular curd.
Yep. and
And
and they
they
were
were good.
so good.
Oh my god, yeah. I think they had like mini corn dogs too.
Yep.
And
Well,
like
no,
they had,
they didn't because right next door was A&W
oh,
that had
that
the
could
mini
be,
corn dogs. So I'd usually get the mini corn dogs from A&W and then get the regular curd from the Euro. And I remember because that was the first time I'd ever seen Euro meat, and they always had it,
oh
it was rotating, it had the big thing of meat that they would just slice off of, which was pretty cool.
yeah. That honestly might have been the first time I ever had a euro in my life, was that was from that place.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
never had it from there, but and then my other part two, my part two of the number three is the space alien earwax. I can't remember. I think it was like the second floor that had shaved ice, and we'd
Yeah.
always get shaved ice. And
Yeah.
one of the flavors was space alien earwax. And if
Yeah.
I remember, it was kind of like a sour apple, wasn't it?
It was,
It
yeah, it
was,
was something like that, like sour apple, maybe with like a little pineapple. But
yeah,
I remember they had like if I remember right, they had all the different flavors like cherry, strawberry, bubble
yep,
gum, all that, and like they all had fancy, nice little labels. And then there was one that was like this. medicine-y, yellowy color in the
Yep.
bottle. Where the tag was like written with a Sharpie instead of like nice and printed like the other ones, and it said
Yep.
Space Earwax, and that's what I always get.
So God only knows what was in it, but
Yeah, it was probably like the OK soda. It was the little bit that was left in the bottles at the end of the night. And they just dumped them all together.
yeah, but it tasted so good though.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. So and I remember we'd always get that whenever
Yeah,
we'd go too. So
that was mandatory to the trip to the Mall of America with some shaved
yep,
ice alien earwax.
yep. So yep, those are that's my number three, the regular curd and the space alien earwax.
Okay, nice. My number two, it involves an arcade and a super bouncy ball on the fourth floor. So to tell you a little, if you've never been to the Mall of America, it's like a big rectangle, and
Mhm.
it's four floors, and on each corner there used to be a big store. There was a Macy's, a Bloomingdale's, a Sears, and I don't remember what the other one was.
Nordstrom's.
Nordstrom's. Okay, and then
Yep.
the middle of it all is Camp Snoopy, which is like a little amusement park, and then
Mhm.
it's like a rectangular four hallways with stores all along. And then on the fourth floor, that one's only kind of like partially done, and that's all like restaurants and clubs and stuff. And
Mhm.
there's the arcade on the fourth floor, and we would go there to waste time, play games, and do whatever. And I think it was a ticket prize, like we were playing ticket games, and one of the
Yep.
prizes, like 3 tickets or for like 5 tickets, like one of the cheapest ones was a super bouncy ball, the little rubber balls that bounce really high.
Mhm.
And then we leave the arcade and we walk a few steps, and there's a nice balcony looking down all the way from the fourth floor down to the ground floor. And I take my little super bouncy ball and I throw it over the edge, and down it goes. And it hits the floor and it bounces like you wouldn't believe. And as far as I know, it entered into a different space time continuum and warped because I didn't see it ever again. Some poor bugger probably got it in the back of the head. Hopefully, it didn't hit anyone in the eyeball. But
Yeah,
it was
somebody on the giant axe got hit.
someone in Camp Snoopy just all of a sudden super bouncy ball. It was Fabio on the roller coaster in Camp
Yeah.
Snoopy, and it hit him in the nose and broke his nose. That would be the ultimate.
Yeah. Oh, I remember we were like, oh my gosh, as soon as we got that, we were like, what would happen if we
Yeah,
threw it off the fourth floor? That was like
yeah.
our first time.
We weren't the only idiots that had that idea. If they were giving out
No.
super bouncy balls on the fourth floor and there's a balcony 100 feet away.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it was down, down, and there was like a few seconds of time where it's just falling, and then it hits the floor. And
Yep. And I think, yeah, it was Kurt. You beat Kurt and Jonathan, wasn't it?
yep, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
That's the suspects.
Yep.
All right, so
It
that's
was
my number.
probably like, who threw that? Now they know.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you throw to the person next to you and go, "Why'd you throw that?"
Yep, exactly. What's wrong with you?
Yeah. All right.
Uh, my number two is there was one of the times that you and I went, they one of the stores that in Mall of America is Legoland, and it's like a
Yep.
giant Lego store, and they've got just about every Lego set you can think of for sale, and it's really cool and it's always busy. And one of the things that they have is a play area for kids, so they can go and there's like these bins with like thousands of Lego pieces, like all different assortments, so the kids can, build things and stuff like that. And one of the times we went, Matt wanted to go to the Lego store because you were looking for a piece. You had a Lego set and missed and lost the piece. And so we went to the Lego land and you dug through all those bins until you found it. And you did find it. It took a while, but you did find the piece you were looking for in the same color and everything.
Yeah. I think it was like we were just about ready to give up, and then I was like, found it, and I was like,
Yep.
serious? Yeah. It's like, yep. What it was is I had it was one of I think the original castle sets,
Huh?
and of the Black Monarch's castle, and it was a
Okay.
black castle, and it was one of the little tops of the towers, the little, whatever they're called on the top of the castle tower.
Oh
So
yeah.
one by one Lego piece, like one of the smallest pieces they make, that was black. And I just
Oh
was, otherwise I had the whole castle, because somehow when I put it together, I dropped it on the floor or whatever. So yeah, I dug through it and found it.
yeah. And what are the odds that they actually would have had that piece, but because they had tons of bins with,
it
thousands and thousands of Legos.
they weren't like organized or sorted by color or anything. It's like bins of random Legos. And so it's like
Mhm.
digging handfuls and digging in handfuls. Parents are probably telling their kids, don't go near those guys. They're
You
weird.
know, what are those guys doing? They just keep digging and they don't build anything. They just keep getting handfuls of Legos and then looking at them and dumping them back in.
I did actually selling that Lego castle on eBay for like $150. So, and because it was complete, I'm sure I wouldn't have got that much of it if I was missing the Lego. So there
No,
you
it was well worth it. So yeah, that was my number two is you finding this looking for the Lego piece.
That's a good one.
Yep.
So my number one memory is so in Camp Snoopy, there's a log flume ride
Mhm.
where you get a big plastic log and you ride it around, and then at the end goes through water, and then at the end it goes down the big hill and splashes, and you get a little wet, and it's like woo fun. But there's a part, I think it's on the third floor, where you come up to the top of the escalator and you can walk over, and it's kind of a view that overlooks Camp Snoopy, and the log ride goes right by that little balcony, and we would stand there and yell drink the water at people as they would ride by, which I believe was inspired by an episode of The Simpsons. I think there's a Simpsons where they're at the Duff Beerland, and Lisa drinks the water of the flume ride and like trips balls and goes nuts, and so we were encouraging people to recreate that. And so we would yell, drink and the reaction we got pretty much every single time was, huh?
Yeah. We're like confused and wondering what the heck we were doing or saying. And
Bloom would go by with like a mom and dad and two kids. Would go, oh, like three of us, like me, you, and Kurt, and
yeah.
like, water, drink the water, drink what? Drink the water. What?
We always did it every time we'd go to the Mall of America, like a ritual.
5 minutes, like we wouldn't just do it once and walk away. We'd stand there for a while
Because
that's the kind of fun.
that was fun. That's awesome. And the ride's still there.
Yep, you can still go there and still yell "drink the water" at people.
I think we even did it this last summer. Did we? Did we? I think we did. Told people to drink the water.
I don't know if we actually did. I know we talked about it. I know we stood there. We might have. There's a good chance we did.
I'm sure one of us said something.
We might not have yelled it, but I'm sure we said like "drink the water" like under our breath.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah. All right. That's my number one.
Okay, my number one, unfortunately, it doesn't involve you, or Kurt, but it was probably one of my most memorable moments, or times, because back then, there was no internet. The only time you found out about events or anything was TV advertising or in a newspaper or a magazine. And we were at the Mall of America. We were going to go to my cousin's wedding in the cities. My I hope none of my cousins are listening because that's probably why. But anyways, we are gonna go to my cousin Jason's wedding in the cities. And before the wedding, we thought we'd go to the Mall of America. But when we got to the Mall of America, we did not know that Hulk Hogan's Pasta Mania was going to be opening in the food court right across from Minnesota Picnic, and they had a huge event and a grand opening. We got there like on the grand opening day, and they had like Hulk Hogan, Randy Macho Man Savage, Jimmy Hart, Mouth of the South, and they had this whole big ceremony. And then after the ceremony ribbon cutting of Pastamania, Then you could go down to the Rotunda, and there was there Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Savage, Randy Macho Man Savage, and Jimmy Hart were signing autographs. So we're like, oh my god, we can meet these guys, right? So we waited in line for hours to
Oh
get
my
the
god.
autographs, but we got them. We did get the autographs, and we ended up missing my cousin's wedding
That's awesome. That's good
because we
dedication.
were like, we gotta go, and mom and dad are like, no, let's just wait here. We can wait a little bit longer, and then we ended up missing the wedding, but we went to the reception, so I guess that we were there. But I did get to meet Hulk Hogan and Macho Man and Jimmy Hart, and we still have their autographs, and got we didn't get pictures with them, but we I don't know if they weren't really doing pictures, but they were signing autographs. So, but yeah,
Wow.
so but
Did
yeah,
you
that was
eat
pretty crazy. What was that?
did you eat the pasta?
No, you know what? We never ate there because I think by the next time we went, it was already closed down.
Yeah. I remember going, like, I remember you telling me this story, and then
Uh-huh.
we went, like, I went there. It was one of the few times I went without you. I must have went with
Yep.
my family,
Yep.
and it was there. But I swear to God, it looked like it was like had been abandoned for 10 years already, and like
Oh,
it's like it just open. How is it already like dilapidated?
yeah.
Like
I know.
it was crazy.
But yeah, but that's crazy. Yeah, that was my number one was the Pasta Mania, meeting Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Savage, and then everybody, we were so excited to meet them because it was like you don't meet celebrities, and
Right.
and so we waited and waited and finally met them. So
Were you along the time we went there and Jenny McCarthy was just leaving? It was like,
no, I remember you saying that
oh my,
though. I
so
wasn't with you.
it was the same kind of thing where I know I think it was me and my brother. We must have went with my family, and it was the
It
same
was
thing.
you and John. Yeah.
We had no idea it was going on, and we showed up, and it was like 10:57 or something, and it was like Jenny McCarthy is signing autographs from 9 until 11, and like she was just leaving, and it was
Oh,
like, and there was like a million people, and like got like this briefest, and this was when Singled Out was like brand new, and it was huge, and I was like, I was
yeah.
like so disappointed. I was like, oh my god, we should have got here sooner. What the
Yeah.
hell?
No. Yeah, I remember that. I remember you saying that now. Yeah. It was you. It wasn't with me, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you got to meet Hulk Hogan and Macho Man and Jimmy
Yeah.
Hart.
Yeah, it's crazy the celebrities that they get there, and now you can go to their website and see, but back then it's like you had no idea. You just randomly show up and somebody'd be there. So
Yeah.
but yeah, there's just so many stories. I still enjoy going to the Mall of America to this day. I don't go too often, but
I do too. It seems to be on an upswing again. Like for a while, it got kind of just really like any other mall, like kind of generic. It
yeah.
wasn't.
Yeah.
It just was like a mall except bigger. But now they're getting a lot more of the specialty shops. They have a lot of like anime stores and like stores with like imports and things like that. And there's like big fancy candy store. It's got a lot of
Yeah.
crazy. You can buy
Yeah,
singles.
they have that was it that all Japanese store, which is kind of cool, and
Yeah,
it's like all products, and yeah, there, like you said, there's so much more and so many fun things to see now.
yep. Let's look for our new sponsor, Mall of America.
Exactly. Thanks. We're gonna have lots of sponsors, Mall of America and Tubi and
Yeah, exactly. Oops. Okay.
all right.
Oh, but we're right on time to finish, so it's all good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that concludes this episode actually. And don't you think? Or
Mall of America, there's a place for fun in your life. That's what the commercial
yep. Yep.
says.
Right. So, but yeah, thanks a lot for
And,
listening to this episode of the Minnesota Meatloaf Podcast. Oh, what was that?
oh, I just was saying, it's just this last Halloween we went there for Onion Head's Revenge. So
Yep,
still,
that was the last time. Yep.
yep. Anyway, proceed with the chlorophyll.
Thanks a lot for listening to this episode of the Minnesota Meatloaf Podcast, and we will be back next week with another new episode.
Thanks for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe.